Hi, Debbie Sementelli here, and today I'm excited to share with you how to create a stronger composition. So I've been doing a fun thing, some collaborations. This is my second one, and this one is with Elena Statham. So we started out by me sending her a composition template with some instructions and guidelines. And so this is what she came up with. And so my part in the collaboration is to make some additions and changes and basically just make it a stronger composition. So I am thrilled to do that. I'm thrilled that she's willing to play along with me. And we're here to help you learn this as well. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the revised composition that I did. And so when I'm doing that, I'm also going to teach you, if you don't know this already, how to copy a whole canvas and then bring it into a new canvas. So I'm going to Gallery and I'm going to the new one that I created. And the first thing I'm going to do is go to the wrench and copy canvas. Now I go back to my gallery, go to the new canvas, and I'm going to swipe 3 fingers and paste it. And there we have it. So now I can start to show you the comparisons side by side and help you to understand what I did, the changes I made, and why I made them. So first of all, she's using my Procreate Lettering Composition Design Kit. And if you have it, you can take a screenshot of this, bring it into your iPad Procreate app, and then layer on top of it to duplicate the composition. Easy peasy. All right, so let's go back to the comparison. So let's start off with the incredible decisions that she made that were so strong and so good. These stamps look gorgeous. They're stunning. And the way that she colored them in, she has a very delicate hand. If you go to look at her work, she just does some exquisite work. And she not only made these very delicate, now these are technically dandelions, but I just think of them as flowers. Anyway, she also brought in all these subtleties in the leaves, which really adds some really nice detail. And she changed the color of the green in this particular botanical so it stands out just enough, but it still goes with all of these. And then lastly, this stamp, which is a separate stamp, she brought this in and added this nice bits of color and even colored in these small pieces. And again, that just adds some beautiful detail. And again, her work is just full of that kind of detail. So fantastic job there. The other thing I love is that she used this stamp as the sun. What a great concept. And then brought these in as well as clouds. So she's really giving us this garden feel outside on a sunny day, which I love, 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 love. And I love the neutral background. It looks like this is a paper type of background. And I love that. It's a perfect color to really set everything up. The other thing that she did really well was she warped the word give and the word permission, which is a little bit smaller in the middle and then larger on the ends, and she gave it some dimension. So lots of great stuff going on. One of the things we have a problem with here, this particular font is a little bit too different, and it creates this large space here, which makes us start to feel like this doesn't belong in the group. So that's one of the things that I was going to fix, was working with the font choices and then making some small adjustments to strengthen the composition. But again, she did so many things well that it was really easy to come in and just make a few adjustments. So let's look at those adjustments. So first of all, I'm going to start with the font. Now, one of the things about fonts, I'm a font designer and I know it can be very difficult to pair fonts up. And I'm not going to go into a whole thing about that right now, but basically, when you're doing something small like this with a limited number of words, you want to keep the font number to about 2. You really don't want to have too many different fonts because then they start to compete with each other and your eye doesn't know where to look. It's going back and forth. So over here, we've got like this as a group, this as a group, and this as a group. And if I just tighten up this space here between yourself and permission, as I did over here, you can see how much that works so much better as a whole. The next thing I did was I changed the font from what she had here, and I'm not sure what that was, but I happen to have on my iPad the font Ganache by Laura Worthington. I love it because it's thick and juicy and it's perfect for using in Procreate. So if you are not someone who does hand lettering, Ganache is one of those cool fonts that you will use a lot. Now I'm going to show you a little something about working with fonts, just in case you didn't know. So first of all, I go on the layer and I say edit text. And if I tap and then run my pen like this, now I've highlighted all of it. Now I can go to the A and look at what I can do. I can change the size, okay? And also if I want to change the leading. Now the leading is that space in between your lines of type. So if I want to change the leading here, I'm going to put my cursor on the top line, go to A, and I can increase the leading or decrease the leading. So that's just one of the things that's really helpful to know if you're going to be working with fonts. So let's get back to it. So that was one of the first things that I did was I changed the space here to make that all work together. And I brought in a new font here and I curved it. I warped it with the warp tool. And in one of my other Procreate tutorial videos, I talk about how to warp with the warp tool. So I'm not going to cover that here. So by warping it, I'm lifting it up, I'm tying it into the word permission, and then just leaving 2 as simple as I possibly can, but that is also in the Ganache font. All right, so that's the first thing I did was I adjusted the font. The next thing that I did was I started with the sun. And I love that this is a sun. It's so cool, but it's kind of getting hidden and it's competing with the cloud. So my eye keeps going back and forth and I don't want that to happen. I want the sun to be prominent in the composition. So I simply enlarged it and then I took out this cloud because we really don't need it. This shape to suggest clouds is so strong on the other side and it balances very well with the sun shape that that's all we need to suggest clouds. And then I took what she'd done, which is adding some texture and some other lighter blues, and I simply created more of that. And then I extended it around the sun. I brought it down into the composition so that now this is all working cohesively. So our eye can settle down because we've now said this is the place to look. When your background is the same all over, your eye is like, what's important? Tell me where to look. Because this is just as important space as this is. So now we want to say this is where you should focus. And we've done that by bringing that background in. We've now also tied the color blue into the lower half of the composition. Over here, we don't have any blue. So it kind of almost cuts in half when we've got blue in the lettering and blue in the clouds, but nothing down here. But now we've pulled that in, and now it's really setting us up for success. Now, the last thing that I did was I added some of these little birds. These are called cute creatures in the kit. And I thought since we're going with the sunny day in the garden, I know I have a garden. I like to sit out and watch the birds. And so I brought some birds in. This is one stamp, and these are two separate stamps. And together, we're not only bringing in some more interest for those blank spaces in the background and telling our eye to look here, but we're also coordinating with the color. So again, up here, this is the most prominent yellow here, but we don't have it down here. We have these subtle yellow tones in the flowers, but they're not strong enough to tie that in. So we simply brought in some strong yellows to bring our eye down and tie it in. And now we're actually going to notice the subtle yellows in these florals because our eye is now looking for it. And of course, I simply added some other things to give it a little bit more detail. I added some of the inlays that are in the kit. I used some of the texture brushes, splatter, and toothbrush, and the dusting powder in various degrees on different parts. And I used the blotchy brush to just bring in this inlay. I wanted it to be kind of not as structured as the other one. And then of course I highlighted on the heart and the birds. So really, she already had so much going on that she had done so well that it was just a few changes that I needed to make in order to just make it stronger. So I hope this was helpful in showing you how you can take a composition and make it just a little bit stronger with a few simple changes. Check out Elena's Instagram feed. Check out the font by Laura Worthington, Ganache, and I'm going to keep bringing you more videos about composition. Thanks for watching.